Hi, welcome to Sunday's special class. We were going through Shakespeare and his works, and today we are concluding this section with Tempest and Shakespeare's sonnets. So, The Tempest, 1610 to 1611. The plot is, the magician Prospero, rightful Duke of Milan, and his daughter Miranda have been stranded for 12 years on an island after Prospero's jealous brother Antonio, aided by Alonso, the king of Naples, deposed him and set him adrift with the then 3 year old Miranda. Gonzalo, Alonso's counselor, had secretly supplied their boat with some food, fresh water, rich garments, linen, stuffs, and accessories, and volumes, books that Prospero prizes. So, possessing magic powers due to his great learning, Prospero is reluctantly served by a spirit, Ariel, whom Prospero had rescued from a tree in which he had been trapped by the cruel witch Sycorax after he had refused to obey her. Prospero maintains Ariel's loyalty by repeatedly promising to release the airy spirit from servitude. Sycorax had been exiled from Algiers to the island for wreaking havoc with her magic and had died before Prospero's arrival. Her son, Caliban, a deformed monster and the only non spiritual inhabitant before the arrival of Prospero, was initially adopted and raised by him. He taught Prospero how to survive on the island, while Prospero and Miranda taught Caliban religion and their own language. Following Caliban's attempted rape of Miranda, he had been compelled by Prospero to serve as a magician's so called slave. In slavery, Caliban has come to view Prospero as a usurper and has grown to resent him and his daughter. Prospero and Miranda, in turn, view Caliban with disappointment, contempt, and disgust. Prospero only performs one act of magic himself directly on stage. He disarms Ferdinand, causing his nerves to become in their infancy again. The rest of his magic is through controlling spirits, or mentioned as happening previously, which is how magicians of the time were believed to operate. So the play opens as Prospero, having divined that his brother Antonio is on a ship passing close by the island, has raised a tempest which causes the passengers to believe they are shipwrecked and marooned. Also on the ship are Antonio's friend and fellow conspirator, King Alonso of Naples, Alonso's brother Sebastian, and son Ferdinand, and Alonso's trusted counselor Gonzalo. So, all these passengers are returning from the wedding of Alonso's daughter Claribel with the king of Tunis. Prospero contrives to separate the shipwreck survivors into several groups by his spell, and so Alonso and Ferdinand are separated, each believing the other to be dead. Three plots then alternate through the play. In one, Caliban falls in with Stefano and Trinculo, two drunkards, believing Stefano to be a brave god who bears celestial liquor. They attempt to raise a coup against Prospero, which ultimately fails. In another, Prospero works to encourage a romantic relationship between Ferdinand and Miranda. The two fall immediately in love, and Prospero compels Ferdinand to become his servant, pretending that he regards him as a spy. In the third plot, Antonio and Sebastian conspire to kill Alonso and Gonzalo so that Sebastian can become king. Ariel thwarts them at Prospero's command. Ariel appears to the three men of sin, Alonso, Antonio, and Sebastian, as a harpy, reprimanding them for their betrayal of Prospero. Prospero, who has witnessed this, lanes to visit Ferdinand and Miranda. The three guilty nobles run off, distracted and in a frenzy, and Gonzalo and the attendant lords chase after to prevent them from what this ecstasy may now provoke them to. Prospero then explains that he tested Ferdinand and betroths a willing Miranda to him. He then asks Ariel to bring some other spirits and create a mask to entertain the young couple. These spirits present a blessing by Iris, Ceres, and Juno, followed by dancing. Prospero suddenly remembers a plot against his life, dismisses the spirits and Miranda and Ferdinand, and sets a trap for Caliban, Tringulo, and Stefano. They are chased off stage by goblins in the shape of hounds. Prospero, all his enemies in his power, discovers that Ariel would pity them if he were human and decides to forgive the people who tried to kill him. He tells Ariel to fetch the nobles while he breaks his charms. In the conclusion, all the main characters are brought together before Prospero, who forgives Alonso, Antonio, and Sebastian. Ariel is charged to prepare the proper sailing weather to guide the king's ship back to the royal fleet and then to Naples, where Ferdinand and Miranda will be married. After discharging this task, Ariel will finally be free. Prospero pardons Caliban, who is sent to prepare Prospero's cell, to which Alonso and his party are invited for a final night before their departure. Prospero indicates that he intends to entertain them with the story of his life on the island. Prospero has resolved to break and bury his magic staff and drown his book of magic, and in his epilogue, shorn of his magic powers, he invites the audience to set him free from the island with their applause. So, magic has a great role in this play. The good magic of Prospero and Ariel is in contrast with the black magic of Caliban's mother, Sycorax. Then, three main spectacles created by magic are the Tempest, the Banquo, and the Wedding Mask. So, the Tempest is probably the last play Shakespeare wrote single handedly. Shakespeare rejects the views of contemporaries like Mundash, essay of cannibals, that natural man is healthy counter to the ills of the civilization. The Mundash connection is evident in the name Caliban, an anagram of cannibal. So there can be a post-colonial study of the Tempest. It is beginning in about 1950 with the publication of the book Prospero and Caliban, The Psychology of Colonization by the French psychoanalyst Octave Menoni. The play is viewed through the lens of post-colonial theory. Aimé Césaire, Camus Braithwaite, and other post-colonial critics have written about this. That is, Prospero as a colonizer and Caliban as a colonized subject. Okay, so Shakespeare's tragedies are very important, especially the important scenes. Nunnery scene in Hamlet, flower scene in Hamlet, then gravedigger scene. Then in Macbeth, Potter scene, sleepwalking scene. In Othello, temptation scene, handkerchief scene, willow scene. And in King Lear, storm scene and the trial scene. Then coming to the sonnets, there are 154 sonnets, mostly written between 1592 and 1598. It was first published by Thomas Thorpe in quarto form in 1609. The sonnets are addressed to two persons. That is, the first 126 sonnets addressed to W.H. Henry Wriothesley, Earl of Southampton, or William Herbert, Earl of Pembroke, depicting a kind of spiritual love is there. And the next 26 sonnets are addressed to Dark Lady. That can be Mary Fitton or Emilia Lanier or Lucy Morgan, all depicting overtly erotic and physical love. And the last two about Cupid. Among the sonnets, some sonnets are very important, especially in the BAMS syllabuses. That is sonnet number 1. From fairest creatures we desire increase. which is the first of the procreation sonnets, that means from sonnet 1 to 17. All these are addressed to the young man, maybe addressed to the Earl of Southampton at the period when he was resisting marriage. So the poet persuades his friend to start a family so that his beauty can live on through his children. Then sonnet number 18 is very important. That is, Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? One of the most famous of all the sonnets. Then sonnet number 13, When to the sessions of sweet silent thought. That is opening line, introduce the court imagery. The title of Marcel Proust's novel, Remembrance of Things Past, is taken from this sonnet. Then sonnet number 126, O thou my lovely boy, who in thy power, aberration in form, 12 lines. It consists of 6 rhyming couplets. The famous expression sickle hour comes at the end of the sonnet. Then sonnet number 130, it is My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. It mocks a conventional and excessive Petrarchan style. Then sonnet number 153 and 154, that means the last 2 sonnets. Based on a poem in the Greek anthology attributed to Marcianus Scholasticus. Aberrations, sonnet number 99 has 15 lines and sonnet number 126 has 12 lines. Sonnets usually have 14 lines, right? So, about Shakespeare's sonnets, Francis Meres in Palladis Tamia or Wit's Treasury praised the sugared sonnets of Shakespeare. Then Wordsworth made a famous claim, with this key, Shakespeare unlocked his heart. Okay, so we are ending this section, Shakespeare and his work. And in the next class, we'll be dealing with contemporaries of Shakespeare. Okay, thank you. Happy Sunday.